For 140 years, the Methodist voice has been a cornerstone of Christ in Kingman, meeting first in homes, then in a log cabin, and now in 2 different church buildings throughout its storied history. The church has never been about buildings, but about building up Christ. This is best evidenced when, in 1928, the church agreed to move across the street to its current building because the children of Kingman needed a new school. The emphasis on children in the future are just as strong fixtures of this church as the chandeliers and stained glass windows. In fact, it could be the earliest memory of your life.
I'm Lance Dixon. I've been a member of this church, or have attended this church for my entire life, with the exception of a 3-year period back in the early 80s when I lived in Wichita. This church, obviously, the earliest memory of my entire life is being in a Sunday school room in this church.
And our church now has lots of ministries, and I just thought you needed to know maybe a few of those, like the prayer shawl ministry, helping with the summer meals, which maybe a lot of people don't even realize that our church helps with that. The youth ministries, our kids love going on the ski trips and the mission trips and all those things that the youth did. And honestly, I don't think we would have had a lot more trouble getting our kids to church if we hadn't had the Sunday school teachers that we had. The kids loved them, they learned a lot, and of course we were to the age that we just did this. We came to church, they knew we were coming to church, they didn't question it. And I can't imagine the picture of our family that it would be now had we not had those, the Sunday school teachers. And okay, then also the choirs, the children's ministries, Neighbor to Neighbor. I don't know if people, that's a wonderful ministry for people, especially that are older like I am, to have people come and help. Well, after Bob passed away, I thought, and it was a thought to drop the kids group because it's really hard to get help. I know young families are struggling, and I know they have to work. And I thought, and I am getting close to 80, but I had a passion that this would go on and that Bob would provide, or that God would provide the help that we needed to do it. Well, it just so happens that people my age stepped up and decided that they, not by pulling their hair or anything, that they would want to be a part of this. And so we've had, it varies, it depends on what's going on sports-wise, other things that are going on. But it's not the amount of kids we have, it's the ones that we have, that some of them have never been in church. And really, they have given us so much more. They've made me understand their world and what they go through and how much we need to put our arms around them and help them to know what a loving church family is like.
I went to Noah's Ark, the preschool here. I did children's choir since kindergarten to 6th grade. I've done youth group from middle school to now. Oh yeah, I do VBS. Sometimes I do children's messages. I love doing VBS. I sadly wasn't able to do it last year because I really like children's choir. I kind of perform a lot, and I perform by doing dance. But I've been performing since I was like yay tall, so it's performing is kind of my thing, so it all kind of started here. So I really appreciate that.
These stories provide a glimpse into the many different ways the church's ministries, and particularly its children and youth ministries, make a difference in people's lives. Each family in the church over the years could share similarly powerful stories. In order for these ministries to happen, the church building itself has to be maintained, repaired, and updated. It's a blessing that our building is used so frequently by these ministries and by the community that we need to now fix things up. There's no one in the church who can speak to the critical and vital needs of the church more than Lance Dixon.
The community has used this building for many events. Everything from the blood bank to Cub Scouts. We have fifth quarter here. And then, of course, the usual church events, Sunday school, church worship service, and, women's group, guilds. I'm pretty sensitive to the physical condition of the church, and a lot of that is because of my job. I know when it's too hot and when it's too cool, and I also know that every 20 to 25 years we have to address heating and air conditioning issues. The equipment just doesn't last much longer than that, and so it's just something we deal with every so often. And we're at that stage right now. The current air conditioning system was most recently updated in 1993. We're needing to replace components and parts of that, and part of what we're actually replacing was installed in 1978. It's just time. I also know that people can get pretty uncomfortable in church if the temperature's not right, and I hear that. I hear it all the time. If it's a little bit off, so if it's not working, it is just very uncomfortable. It's going to take $50,000 to $60,000 to repair it. I would love to put in a real modern, updated system, energy efficient. Doing that would cost over $200,000. So we're just going to make the repairs that we have to make this building comfortable. And I think it's probably an important part of our ministry even that we provide a place that people can sit and not worry about how hot and how cold they are.
What I see going forward as part of this remodel, and especially with the stage, is that we have some wonderful performers who have come in, and because of the space design that we have now, we have a madrigals group in our high school that occasionally comes, and where they occasionally position themselves is not the best way for us to be able to mic them and really take that in and share it out. And so that's one thing that I look forward to, is being able to enhance those types of performances. We have dance companies that come in and do performances and dances, and kind of giving them really a space where we can allow them to do their thing and allow them to record what they're sharing with the rest of us is really exciting to me. Of course, resources need updated, things like that, but those are generally minuscule type things. But just the very basic layout, enhance the space that we do have for what we've been doing over the last couple of years, I think is going to be a tremendous benefit.
I know that there's a want for youth to come to church, but sometimes there are things that need to be changed, because I'm from a completely different generation, and there's just different needs that we have. We're all obsessed with technology, and things like that. And though I do love the stains on the ceiling that I've come very attached to them, it would be nice if they weren't there. When we dance, there's not a lot of space, and I don't want to say that I'm fantastic at dancing, but with the limited space, there are very few sort of dance moves that you can do. So when I do perform here, I will say it is not to the par I guess, that I would like to be dancing to. I would like to show them more of the things that I'm able to do and that the other members of my dance center can do to sort of really reflect everything we've learned and be able to show our love of God in our movement. It's just, I like that. I think that would be really, really nice.
In addition to climate control fixes and expanding the stage area so that the worship we offer to God allows us to give Him our very best, the For a Fruitful Future campaign also includes adding additional lighting sources in the sanctuary and turning the current chandeliers into LED-ready sockets. We will also see new carpeting throughout the main level of the church. The carpet will match what was put on the stairs and in the offices in the most recent updating in 2014. Gone will be the communion and wax stains of yesterday. The stage will become wheelchair accessible, and the walls will be given a fresh coat of paint. Despite Alex's bonds, those stains on the ceiling will be painted over. A yet-to-be-determined prominent cross feature will be added to the front of the sanctuary so that we can proclaim how important the cross of Christ is to us. A few other minor changes will occur to help bring about a clean and fresh look throughout the worship space. In addition to deferred maintenance and updates in the sanctuary, a revisioning of the space west of the sanctuary is a critical part of this campaign. Currently used as the parlor, the vision is to transform this space into a nursery in one part and a hospitality area in the other. The wooden doors would be permanently affixed above where they are now, and the windows and glass doors will be installed in their place to allow the sun to shine into the sanctuary to brighten up the space. Bringing the nursery to the main level of the church sends a powerful message about the importance of God's tiniest miracles to new and young families that complements our commitment to protecting them through the Safe Gatherings program. Rather than putting infants and toddlers on a completely different floor and in the farthest corner of the church as possible, these youngest disciples will just be a few steps away from their mothers and fathers. In addition, the ethics and risk of today's world unfortunately plays a role as well. So safety, well-being, and helping young parents be able to relax and to know that their children are within earshot are the seeds to cultivating a younger and vibrant church for the next generation. But don't take my word for it. Listen to these witnesses share about this wonderful idea.
Oh, I'm really excited about the nursery coming upstairs. And the reason I am is because right now with the kids in the basement, we're very separated from the worship service. And to make the effort to get everybody rounded up and upstairs in the amount of time that we have, that's a short song, we'll never make it. And so they stay completely separated from service. And so when it comes to being 5 and it's time to go into church, most of them have never been in the church for any length of time. And so by being up here and having the glass windows, they're going to be able to see the church, going to be able to see church happen. We're going to be able to join you for more things, I think. And I think they'll be more ready to go to church when they leave the nursery.
Well, and I think there's also the opportunity for, young mothers or parents with young children or babies to be able to, sometimes a crying baby only can be soothed by their mother, and, the mother would still be able to participate in the service and participate in the worship by being there and being part, but having the nursery very close on hand if the baby starts to get unsettled or crying. But one thing that's been really very inviting about the church is that, if you do have, like our son is one of those who's making the transition from nursery into church. It's a transition, but, even when he has some of his outbursts and things, just everybody just kind of laughs it off. Hey, we got kids in church. That's a good thing, and so it's not a stigmatization, to have that. The nursery is there as a support for parents who just, need to just, let someone else watch the kids so they could just be in, in a mindset for the worship. But the worship space is still very open for everyone that, has their kids with them and everything else. And everyone understands kind of, the human condition in that. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's been very, very good.
And when I was reading the upper room this morning, I've got to read you this verse. I've got to read you this verse. God is so timely, and He just comes and tells you what needs to be done. This verse is from Galatians 6:10. Whenever we have an opportunity, let us work for the good of all, and especially for those of the family of faith. And when I was thinking about the remodeling, I thought, well, I don't know as we need that. Well, not sure about that. I'm a very conservative person. So I thought, yes, but that's selfish. I wouldn't give up the children for anything and their needs. And so it's not just what I need, it's what the people in our church family need. And so we have to think about them and their needs. And I do think the nursery upstairs is a great idea for people to be connected. And I know that feeling because our kids were downstairs when they were young, and you were wondering what they were doing, if they were happy, if they were needing mommy. And so I think that's a really great idea to have the nursery up here.
I feel like one of the things that we need to do that we're planning on doing is bringing the nursery up here, and I think that's a fantastic idea, because I know for me as a child, I was downstairs all the time, and I wasn't with Mom, and making that transition between being downstairs in the nursery and coming up here was difficult, from what I hear from my father complain about. I was a very enthusiastic child. I enjoyed to move around. I enjoyed being loud at times when I wasn't supposed to be loud, but I feel like if I would have been able to see the church and the sanctuary, I would have been more acclimated and known kind of the etiquette that you sort of have within church. I really feel like that would have been beneficial, and we would have been part of the church more. And I like the idea of getting that done.
God is using this time to ask each of us to recommit to our faith walks, both inside the church, inside our homes, and in our community. Listen to Karen Baruth explain the importance of this aspect of the campaign.
And when we started the campaign, I was thinking, they asked us to be the prayer coordinators, and I thought, oh, we should have been doing this a long time ago. But we need to, and the campaign is not just to raise money for the physical facility, it's to encourage and to inspire our congregation to grow spiritually through prayer and Bible study. And we talked about it as being the foundation. If we don't have the prayer and the Bible study as a foundation, the physical part of the church isn't going to matter. So we have to also look at trying to stay more connected with each other through prayer and have it a priority. It's just so important to me. I know that I ask God for things that I know He can provide. And we want people to know God in that way through prayer, that He can do through each of us so much more than we could ever think or ask. If we did all of that, honestly, we wouldn't be asking for money. We would just be knowing that that was there and that this was our responsibility.
Combining prayer, spiritual growth, and sacrificial giving is a powerful witness to our faith and the recumbent faith that we are called to live. The impact is personal, familial, and communal.
One reason why we really feel strongly about this campaign is to improve the space, make the changes to the church to keep it fully operational and comfortable, and to just keep this wonderful group of people together, to keep it open, and to invite new families in.
If you agree with these statements of support and want to see the future of the church come to fruition, then join with me and them in participating in the For a Fruitful Future campaign.
First of all, if I could say, continue giving to the general fund. On the campaign, make that over and above what you typically give. Don't take away from the general fund to give to the building fund. But I'd also say that it's just a simple fact that every several years, this building, it's a big old building, and every several years it's going to need some updates and upgrading and repairs, and it costs money to do that. Every few years, when you got a building that would, I can't even imagine how many millions of dollars it would take hardly to rebuild this building. Every so often, we're going to have to spend $150,000, $190,000 to make repairs.
After we had talked about the campaign and the money and that sort of thing, and I went home and I thought, oh boy, there goes my dark chocolate. And, and I thought, yeah, but God said, well, what about your garage? Do you really think it needs to be sided? And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, probably not. Probably not. I'm the one that has only one, well, I'm the neighbors, that looks at my garage. But when you can invest in ministries and other people's lives, it's more important than a building. It's more important than what I could do there. And yeah, it needs to be done, but not as badly as some other things in the church.
Between now and May 6th, when we plant the seeds of our faith in the future by making a 3-year commitment to go over and above our regular giving, pray about what you and your family are willing to give out of the abundance God has blessed you with, to be a part of what is taking place here. The second thing to do is to pray some more as a spiritual practice of going over and above on the spiritual side as well. Karen and Mary have put together a number of resources, including the pew sheets, the congregational prayer, of which a copy is included in the materials you will receive today. There's also a daily devotional reading that they've put together to help us not just pray about the campaign, but to grow wider and deeper in our overall faith. Lastly, I would encourage everyone to set an alarm for 7:20 p.m. every evening. Our scripture verse for the campaign is Matthew 7:20. Thus you will know them by their fruits. So at 7:20, when your alarm goes off, take a moment and pray for the campaign, for your ownership in it, and for the leaders. Pray that God sends the right contractor. Pray that everything comes in under budget. The key isn't necessarily the content of the prayer. The key is for all of us to come together at the same time and lift our prayers up to God. That's why we're calling it the PING, or Prayer in Group. I believe God has a fruitful future in store for Kingman and for Kingman United Methodist Church. And I pray you do too, and will be a part of the excitement that is building. Blessings to you as you and God decide on what that fruitful journey looks like, so that Kingman can become more like the kingdom and have a fruitful future.